Okay, everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go ahead and install the Breeze Koolmat, and I'm also going to cover the tunnel with vinyl. So let's get started. All right, the cool thing about the Koolmat is it comes labeled with where everything goes. That doesn't mean every piece doesn't need to be trimmed, because it appears that it does. Step one is to just lay every piece inside the car where it goes, get it fitted, get everything set up so it all lays in there just the way you want it. And then once you're complete with that, then you're going to go ahead and start applying the epoxy. Okay, and here's the epoxy we're using. It's the Weldwood Contact Gel Cement. They have a liquid, but Breeze recommends the gel because it's easier to apply and it doesn't run. I've messed around with it a little bit myself, and I would have to agree. Okay, the directions say to start with the floor. It actually says start on the driver's side, but I'm going to do the passenger side so I have more room and I can kind of learn how to do it correctly without everything in the way. So you start with the floor. First step is to go ahead and trim areas that need to be trimmed once you lay it in there. I had to take a little off of the far end here and cut a slot for my seat belt. Other than that, that's all that needed to be done. Then we're going to flip this over. Make sure there's no debris on it or anything like that. Then we're going to go ahead and apply the adhesive. All right, step one is we're going to mix this stuff up really well. They say to use it in a well-ventilated area, and they aren't kidding, man. This stuff stinks. So now that we got it all mixed up real well, we will liberally apply it to the backing of this. And I really like the way this stuff goes on. It's very easy to handle, very easy to manage. And it doesn't make a huge mess. So far, so good. I did a small test plot earlier and came out really well. So we'll cover this completely, and then we'll go over and we'll put some in the car where this is going to be applied. And we're going to let these set for about 20 minutes before we try to put them together. Good even coat, not super heavy, but good. Make sure you get good coverage, particularly on the edges. And if you get a little heavy spot, just spread it out. Okay, 20 minutes is up. Now we're going to go ahead and slip this in place. Now we know the middle has got the tacky part. So we're going to start on the edges, get everything lined up where I want it, and then just let it fall in place. It does pick up pretty easy if I don't get it exactly where I want it, so that's a good sign. All right. Once I get it laid in there where I want it, so now I'm going to roll down where the adhesive is in the middle. Make sure I get a good seal on there. Okay. Then what we do is we flip up the edge to the edge of where the old epoxy, where you can see it's being held in place. And we'll take some wooden dowels and we'll kind of stuff them up in there. And that'll keep her from falling back over on itself. We'll use a trusty can to hold that. Now I'm going to go ahead and coat in here, let it get its 20 minutes in, then I'll fold it back over and seal it down. All right, nice coat in here. We're going to give that 20 minutes to set up. And then we're going to go ahead and fold the carpet back over on it. All right, current time is up. We'll go ahead and remove our dowels. And we'll just lay the mat back in position. Hopefully. All right. And once we get to this point, we pull out our little handy dandy roller. And we roll this thing in as best we can. Okay, and once we get this all rolled in, we're going to repeat the process on the opposite side of this same mat, and then this one piece will be done. We move on to the next one. Okay, let's get a close look at this. This is the tunnel top right here, and you can see that it's not quite the right, it wasn't cut to quite the right size here. So what it says to not do is overlap. It says to butt up against it if you have spots that are open. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this little piece and we're just going to set it right on here. Now, there's already been glue applied to here, and you can bring it back to life by applying more glue to it, which is what we're going to do to apply this. And then the same thing with this. We'll coat this and we'll let it set for 20 minutes, and then we'll just set it in place and press it down, and that should take care of that little problem there. All right, so now that it's dried the appropriate amount of time, we're going to lay this in place. The big thing is, like they say, is don't overlap. You can butt, but don't overlap. Butt. All right. That actually looks pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. And that'll make it so there's not a void in the carpet as it rolls over the sides of this. So any kind of gaps or holes you have, this is the procedure you would use to fill them. Okay, doing a little work on the tunnel here. I've already gone and attached the heat material, as I showed you before, to the top of this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with a marine grade vinyl, fake leather. But I wanted to have a little padding. So I actually went to a seat upholstery place, and they gave me this really thin padding that I could just put on here. And I applied it the same way that I did the Koolmat. Okay, so now that we've got this on here, now comes the next part. So here's a little piece of vinyl I'm going to use. Ironed it out, got it nice and flat. And now what we're going to do is, just like we did before, we're going to apply the glue to both the foam and the mat. And then I'm going to try to get it all to come together. I'm not an upholsterer, so let's hope this works out. And just like before, we start by liberally applying the adhesive to the back of the vinyl. We'll do the same to the foam, and we'll let them set for about 20 minutes, and then we'll bond them together. Now, with the other pieces, you notice I did half at a time. I couldn't really figure out a way to do that on this so it would work. So I'm going to cover this all with adhesive, and I'll cover just the top of the tunnel with adhesive so that I can get it centered on there and held in place, and then I can trim the edges the way I want to make it fit. So let's see how that works. All right, same thing on the top of the tunnel. We're going to go ahead and apply our adhesive, and like I said, I'm just going to do the top. I'm going to do top here and actually this outside part as well, but I'm not going to do anything in here yet. Okay, moment of truth. We're going to lay it in here. See if we can't make it work. Now that I'm looking at how this is coming together, I kind of wish I had set the epoxy up on the inside as this as well, but then I can roll this onto itself like that. And this. All right, top looks pretty good. With this mounted firmly in place now, it's not going to move around. I know when I trim my edges to make my corners work, that I'm going to be in the right spot and not have to worry about setting it on there exactly if I were to have cut it ahead of time. So let this dry like this a little bit, and then we'll get back to it and see where we're at.
Okay, so what we're doing here is just trimming up the corners so that it folds over correctly. And once I get this all cut up the way I want it, so it does the fold the way I want it, then I'll apply the glue so that we can fold everything over.
All right, should be dry enough. Let's see if we can make these corners do corner stuff. All right, that actually was easier than I thought it would be. Pretty happy with that. Call that complete. Okay, a couple of lessons learned already. First of all, this piece right here has been the hardest piece to put in. It's the one that goes along the inside of the firewall here, just because there's so many curves and it's kind of hard to trim to get just the way I want it. Also, this looked like a real nice, easy flat piece. So I went ahead and just glued the whole thing at once and tried to set it down. And it was a huge pain in the butt. Whoever said glue half of it, put it in place, then glue the other half, they probably knew what they were talking about. So I'm going to do it that way from now on. So once I roll this on and I get everything where I want it, you'll usually find you might have a spot that's a little proud where the cut didn't come out just right. And it's actually pretty easy. Once you get it glued down, you just run the razor down it and you can clean that out, and it makes it kind of nice. These little tools that you can get at any auto parts store, they're for putting in upholstery. They're super helpful to get it up in the corners and get a good tight seal. Pull this out. Now I can get a nice seam right there. Now I got a little gap up here. I'll go ahead and take some of the spare chunks, the spare pieces, like we did, like I showed you earlier, and I'll cut something out to go in that little spot there and go in that little spot there. I hope you can see this, but when you have these little pieces where there's a little hole you want to fill in, it's very easy to trim a piece to fit in there, and they stick in there quite easily. This one's got to go around a corner, so let's see how this one does. And no problem at all. And that's how you cover up those little divots. Now, if you have little seams, like where the seam is here, if there's a little bit of an opening, don't sweat that, because they give you this caulk material that you put on that to fill in those holes, and then of course the carpet goes over it. All right, pretty happy with that. There we go. All right, nicely done. And the next thing we'll do, according to the instructions, is the back wall area right here, and then we'll work it forward back around. Okay, on this back piece, I actually found it was easier to do it from the top down, so that's how we got it set up right now. We're just waiting for the lower glue to set up, and then we'll roll it all down, and that'll be in place.
Okay, you can see we got the whole backside installed here. A couple of lessons learned. I found it was easiest to measure it from the bottom up, but then glue it from the top down. In other words, I would take this bottom piece here, I'd get it all measured in up to the top, then I'd put the glue on the top half, leave the bottom half without glue, get it in place, flap it down, and then repeat that with the second piece that's over the top. You can see I needed like a little clamp there to hold that in place so it set up the way it was supposed to. One of the benefits of doing it this way is you have the excess all at the top, and it becomes super easy to trim just by running the knife along the edge, and that comes right off. Just like that, super easy. Not sure what's going on with my audio here, but basically the same thing's going on here. I glued the top portion first. I left the bottom unglued, and now I've got something stuffed in there to hold it so it's not making contact, and the glue that I spread in there can dry, and then I can smooth it down. So on this side, the floor piece comes as one solid piece all the way to the front, which means you've got to make two 90-degree turns up in here. On the other side, they actually cut it right here, and this is a solid steel tube here, so honestly I think this will go together a lot better if I do it the way it's done over there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this and do the bottom section and the top section as two different pieces. There it is, completed. It came out pretty well. Last step is to grab the silicone provided with the kit, and then we're going to go along and we're going to find all the little seams that have a little bit of opening, and we're going to top those off with silicone. And then that'll be it. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. On the next one, we're going to start putting the carpet in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.